Wouldn't you love to live in a world where plastic bags were not a threat to animal life, water, humans, the planet, everything? Well, one company says they have the answer. Symphony Environmental claims to produce a kind of plastic, Oxo-biodegradables, that they claim can biodegrade faster than any other kind of plastic. Big claims that some scientists and critics are contesting. So is it just another plastic bag with a problematic relationship to the environment, or is it, as Symphony Environmental's chief executive Michael Laurier claims, the future?
Michael Laurier, thank you so much for joining me today. I understand your company's Symphony Environmental has something called Oxo-biodegradable, that basically it's able to create a technology that makes plastic essentially biodegradable. Can you explain what this process entails and how you can convert plastics into biodegradables?
Absolutely. It's a very easy, very simple process that is an upgrade to ordinary plastics. By that, you mix in the manufacturing process 1% of a master batch looking like a plastic bead. That bead is a control. It's like putting a smart chip inside a computer. It allows the plastic to go through a process of oxidation where you break the molecular structure of the plastic up, and that plastic completely converts back into biodegradable materials. And once you get to those biodegradable materials, it will then organically recycle itself back into the ecosystem. So essentially, this is a form of organic recycling. The technology globally is used in nearly 11 countries around the world by legislation. Other countries are considering it. But it's definitely an answer for reducing and eliminating plastic pollution from drinking straws to plastic bags.
Absolutely, and we'll get into the bigger issue of plastic pollution. But currently, I've seen the UK Parliament has given you some resistance, basically saying that your process is not fully biodegradable, and so it shouldn't be labeled as such. What is your argument to the idea that actually the process is not fully biodegradable, and how long does it actually take to biodegrade?
Well, the UK Parliament doesn't have a position on this, but the European Parliament has said in a statement that products described as oxo-degradable, in other words, products that will only go through a process of oxidation, that don't go through a final process of biodegradation, are products that should be avoided. And those are normally normal plastics, because normal plastics will go through a very, very slow process of oxidation. So, as for speed, we can make the technology go within a matter of months. We can convert it from a plastic material to biodegradable materials in months. As to biodegradation itself, where the microbes start consuming those biodegradable materials, that will depend on nature. It depends where will it go. Will it be in a desert? Will it be in the waters? Will it be in the open environment? Will it be in a forest? What sort of microbes do you have? But for sure, we've proven by years and decades of studies, this technology does go through a full process of oxidation and then biodegradation. And that is what the European Parliament itself instructed the European Commission to do a report to examine oxo-degradables leading on to oxo-biodegradables.
And certainly, in terms of the countries that have adopted this, you mentioned 11 countries so far that are working with you. Can you describe which countries they are? Because I think people would be surprised to find it's not countries you'd expect, like America, for example, and England.
Well, America and England, up to just 2 or 3 years ago, took the view that they could collect all their plastic waste. They could pick it up, they could recycle it, they can incinerate it, they could do many, many things with it. And it's only in recent months, if you like, or at most 1 or 2 years, we realized we can't pick it all up, and it is a serious problem, and it's a serious problem in the oceans, and there's a huge debate how do we resolve the plastic pollution problem from drinking straws to shopping bags to garbage bags to food wrap? How do we resolve that? That's the debate that's going on. And you have a lot of arguments and discussions in relation to, oh, let's move away from plastics. But at the moment, that's all we really got in terms of it being the best material available in terms of life cycle assessment. Low cost, does help to preserve food, does stop cross-contamination. It's there, it's established. The only issue with it is it's so good, it could last in the environment for more years than we would ever want. So using this technology allows it to be programmed. You can set the time for it to degrade as a plastic and then biodegrade within a defined time frame. Saudi Arabia was the most recent country to put legislation in, and they put criteria. They put criteria on top of the international norms, which defines ecotoxicity and it defines biodegradation. And what they defined is that they wanted materials that would be good for life, for use, to be able to reuse, to be able to recycle, to continue reducing, but should it end up in their environment, they wanted to be sure that it was not only going to degrade, but it was organic, it's going to organically recycle itself again. So they put the restrictions on all materials that are manufactured, all short-life plastics, both imported and manufactured inside of Saudi Arabia. But they followed the UAE. The UAE put that piece of legislation in 2009. They had no alternatives to plastics. It was cheap. They had materials there and available. It was helping with managing their food supplies. It was helping grow their crops. It was helping in their hospitals, their clinics, their food processing plants. But they wanted to fix the plastic pollution problem because they couldn't collect it all. So in 2009, United Arab Emirates put in this piece of legislation. We, Symphony Environmental, were the first to introduce it into their region and to cooperate with the authorities to set standards so that people would actually put in the real product, a product that really would go through a process of full oxidation leading to biodegradation. Then you have other countries, poorer countries. Pakistan. Pakistan has a huge problem with plastic pollution. And they put in legislation in the last 2 years, which has started with shopping bags, which is an everyday product that everybody uses. And they made it compulsory that those should also be made from the same technology. And it goes on.
To the
you
point
have,
being,
countries
exactly.
in Africa, poor countries.
The point being that, as you point out, that you have essentially the need for plastic that you cannot escape necessarily. There's certainly the abuse of plastic. We see, obviously, plastic bags that are in excess, plastic straws, plastic bottles everywhere. There's a certain waste factor to these things. But then you have the essentials of how plastics are in everything from our space program, our cars, our manufacturing, our technologies. And it's a very pliable tool. It's a very, a wonderful technology in itself, plastics. So the idea of utilizing something like Symphony to basically make plastic biodegradable seems like a nice marriage, but obviously you're going to get a lot of controversy, it would seem to me, from some people that are diehard anti-plastic. They want to ban plastic entirely, not realizing that we as a civilization aren't necessarily ready to take that step.
Well, you just have to look at it in this way, don't you? Plastics itself is used to preserve food. If we don't wrap our food in the supermarket shelf, from our cabbages to our meat, to our chickens, to our fresh fruits, in a plastic product, we find that we either have to put more preservatives into those products to make them last longer, which is not so good, or we waste more. So the plastic itself does a lot to preserve and reduce the amount of food wastage, as well as protect cross-contamination. Then if you move across to growing of food, the growing of crops, whether it's in the banana plantations where they grow bananas under plastics to protect it from sunburn, to protect it from bugs that will attack it, or you move into the growing of crops itself, it's proven that we get far more crops per acre and use less irrigation by using plastic to grow it under than not using it. The only issue is if it was this technology, this is our D2W technology, which goes through a process of oxo-biodegradation, you actually release the carbon value of the plastic back into the ecosystem. And that's what people don't understand. They don't understand because this technology isn't fully understood in the United States because it's still invisible. It's not fully understood in Europe because it's still invisible. And it's only when we can communicate to programs like yours, which is interested in telling their viewers that there is an upgrade and an easy upgrade available, is the only way we get this message out.